Hello. So thought I'd make a video before the season starts, just updating what my plans are. So I'm going to go over a few things. Just firstly, just thanks to anybody that watched the model video. I genuinely thought there'd be about like 3 people would be interested in that. So the fact that like loads of people seem to be interested in it was pretty mad. And yeah, thanks for watching and all the nice comments as well. I've got some updates about the model. I've been tweaking it, so I'm going to leave that at the end of the video. Yeah, updates and some things. If anybody's downloaded it, there's some information you need to know and stuff like that. So I'll leave all that at the end. But the team, so deadline is coming quick. It's Friday, 6:30. And I always leave the team, the actual picking the team, to last. I always feel like I prefer all the structural stuff and all the data and all this kind of business. The actual picking the players, I think it's because decision making is hard, and you sometimes there's a kind of like stress that creeps in with FPL where you get like decision paralysis because there's so many choices to make. You're trying to choose between 2 different paths, and you just swing back and forth between like, what if this one goes off? I have to have this one, but then what if he gets benched and it's a disaster? I've got to have this one. And you just go back and forth, and it's like, it's difficult to choose. And I think I've decided that if you just accept that there's variance in the game, and just accept it, and just accept that you might get wrecked, whatever happens, you could just get wrecked. Once you accept that, for me, I've been finding that now I just choose the choice that I like. And yeah, I might get wrecked, but whatever, I'm just going to choose the one that I like. Sod it. So that's been kind of helping me with my thinking process at the end. And the FPL guys just posted a really funny tweet on Twitter saying that, using the Kierkegaard quote of like, do it or don't do it, you will regret both. And it's I love that quote from Kierkegaard. Like, it's just something about life. I'm sure that quote has helped me in life before. You will regret both. Whatever we do, you're going to regret it. And so just pick the one you like, and just see what happens. So that's been helping me. So here I am, no Haaland. I'm going to go no Haaland. Still bench boost 2. Some sort of setup like this. Only a few little things I've got to figure out. So the no Haaland thing, I'm going no Haaland because a couple of seasons ago, when he was about 13 mil, I went without Haaland, and back then I remember feeling quite confident about it. I think my maths was wrong, but I remember feeling confident about it back then, thinking he was overpriced then. Now he's 15.5 mil. And one of the biggest things though is that he's not. One of the things that I forgot to factor in last time was that he was the. You got to factor in captaincy. So if he's like predicted a point per game above the next best pick, you kind of got to double that difference, because that difference is going to be doubled when you factor in captaincy. So any kind of like value calculation you're making of points per million, you've got to add that extra captaincy in. But this season, Bruno's actually top of my model, and I mean, I don't know what other models have. They're probably quite neck and neck, but if I go to that one there, Bruno's top by quite a way, actually, quite a long distance. He probably won't be top in every game, but although he actually is. Even the Coventry game, I got Bruno as not that far behind. He's got Everton away. So that's how I've got it. Now, this is my model. It could be wrong, but it's like midfielders get more routes to points and things like that. Anyway, the captaincy argument isn't there with Haaland anymore. So that's put me off of him. Also, I think I just like being able to spread the money. If you can just buy anybody you want, pretty much, when you don't have Haaland, you make that one big sacrifice, don't have Haaland, and then everybody else you can pretty much get whoever you want. Whereas if you go for Haaland, you have to kind of make several sacrifices, and I don't like that feeling of like really wanting this pick but have to kind of like find some kind of sacrifice, some kind of substandard player that you don't really want to fill in. So no Haaland. That's what I'm doing. I feel like it could backfire. I'm just trying to think, like last season, I think it was a couple of seasons ago, everybody went without Haaland, I seem to remember, for a while. and it worked out. Was that 2 seasons ago, or was that last season? Actually, let me just pause it and find out. 1 sec. Yeah, it was the season before last, so 23, 24, 25, 24, 25, I guess it was. I started without Haaland and got kind of wrecked. He was like killing me every game week by massive monster amounts. And then game week 6, I brought him in, and then he just blanked. So I got rid of him quite quick after that, but didn't have him for the whole season. But then last season, I started without him. Didn't get too wrecked by him, but a couple of times started getting wrecked by him a little bit there. And then brought him in and had him for the whole season pretty much after that. It's like a permacap. So at the moment I'm feeling no Haaland. I may have to double check it because one of the other things about going no Haaland is that you've really got to make sure you spend all your money. Otherwise, you're probably leaking EV a little bit. Like if you don't max out your budget. At one point I had a draft and about 3 million in the bank, and that's not really, you're probably not being efficient there. And if something happens in the season where we get a load of budget enablers emerge, which it could well do, then it might be silly to not go with Haaland because there's too many decent budget enablers. But at the moment I'm going without Haaland because of the fact as well that there's no Pep there now, and they've lost Rodri. And it wasn't that season as well when Haaland wasn't doing well. That was when Rodri was injured as well. So that could be connected. I can't see Haaland doing better than normal. If anything, I can imagine Man City and Haaland will go backwards. So, and my solver isn't really picking him that often, although he is close. So at the moment, no Haaland, I think. I'm going to get some FUD. I'm doing the no, do it or no, don't do it. So no Haaland. And then the bench boost, I'm still bench boost 2, I think. I started thinking about bench boost 1. I started noticing that lots of people were swinging that way, and maybe I was just starting to swing that way as well, just considering it. The good thing about bench boost 1 that I liked was that you can just get it out of the way, and if anything happens, you can just kind of say, at least I've done it now, it's just bad luck, it's done. Whereas if anything happens to bodge the bench boost 2 in game week 1, and I have to call it off, like I really don't want to have to call it off or anything like that. So that was making me want to just get it out of the way in game week 1. But then I thought that logic isn't really right, because if I really wanted to do the same thing, I could just go to game week 2 and then pull the trigger regardless, whatever happens. That's the same logic as what I'm doing in game week 1. Whatever happens, I bench boost. So I could technically do the same thing in game week 2. Whatever happens, I just pull the trigger. Now I'm not gonna, but I could still have that kind of logic of like, if something does happen, I could just accept a substandard bench boost rather than breaking my team. Even if I end up bench boosting him after wildcard 6 without a keeper and with a non-playing forward and just 2 players, like if it happens to it, it's better than kind of. It's the same logic with game week 1 if it backfires. So I don't know. I thought I would just stick with game week 2. And the other thing I like about game week 2, using FPL Joe's projections here, is Coventry's clean sheet odds in game week 2 are just pretty good, 34%. Whereas like if you go for Ipswich versus Sunderland, it's 27. There were some other teams, wasn't there? Bournemouth, I think. No, not Bournemouth. Who else are people going for? There was another relatively low team. Oh, there's Ipswich there. Brighton, Verbruggen, is that what people are going for? 26% as well. So I figure you may as well just go for that. Like Coventry's defence is just better chance of a clean sheet, 34%. So I just like it. And my intuition was that Coventry, I could kind of imagine them getting a clean sheet against Hull. Whereas Ipswich versus Sunderland, I can see Sunderland scoring there potentially. And Brighton versus Villa, I think it is. Well, that's not bad because the odds could go up there because Villa are a bit, but it is still Emery and they're still like a top 6-ish kind of side. So, yeah, I'm sticking with bench boost 2. I like having a cheap bench. And then it's just I may have one other. Now, if I'm not going with Haaland, I might have one. My first on the bench might be quite expensive. But I don't really like. I'm not sure that's efficient either, because some people might say if you're not going with Haaland, then you've got to have a decent bench boost. But the logic there would be for every 0.5 you put on your bench for the sake of 1 game week, that's 0.5 you could have had in your team for 5 game weeks, right? So every extra bit of money I've got on my bench, that is theoretically money that could be in my team for 5 game weeks rather than just for the sake of 1 game week. Because I'm gonna be wildcarding in 6, probably. So theoretically, it feels to me like I should just go for a 4.5. Would be the most efficient thing, and then put all my money in the first 11. And I could still do that, go for a Slater, but I don't need to do that because I've kind of got the money, which then makes me think, well, I mean, I could do it. I could get Raya in instead of Kinsky. I could get an O'Reilly instead of Vuskovic. I could get Isak, Semenyo instead of Wirtz, things like this. There are little tweaks I could make, so I could still do that. But I'm also thinking there's a value that the model doesn't really pick up, which is that the value of not knowing what's going to happen at the start of the season. There's a lot of flux, and having that first on your bench player being a decent player, maybe it'll be valuable for those first 5 game weeks that I can just kind of bring him in and rotate a little bit. But I'm not sure about that. I might just be trying to justify going this route. So yeah, I don't know. I might go for it. I don't really want to get rid of any of these players. I might go for just a 4.5 Slater. At the moment, I like this and I'm feeling this, but I need to have a think about that. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so there's the team. What am I doing here? 1 sec. Let me just pause it 1 sec. Sorry. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, probably I may go to a 4.5, but at the moment I like this idea of doing this, having like 8 decent attackers for the sake of the bench boost and for the sake of rotation, given this early season flux and things like that. Might help with rotation. It'll mean that I can bench somebody like João Pedro against Arsenal, which I don't have to, but I could. In fact, I think I ran through some of this. Where are we? Game week 1, FPL team. Yeah, so Gibbs-White against Liverpool away, I could maybe bench. Things like this. Maybe bench João Pedro against Arsenal. Gives me a few options. I won't be benching him against Hull. Something like that. So that's what I'll probably do, because I quite like it, but we will see. What else do I want to say then? So the team, the most nailed players, João Pedro, Calvert-lewin, feel pretty nailed. Thiago is probably either Thiago or maybe Isak. I feel better about Thiago. He just feels solid. But then FPL Joe's got the projected goals for the first 5 game weeks. Brentford are not bad, but Liverpool are higher. And it's like, well, maybe I could go Thiago and Wirtz, or maybe I go Isak and Dango, something like that. Not sure. And also, Man City's projected goals are actually the highest of all of them, higher than Arsenal's and Liverpool's. And I've got no Man City at the moment. I don't think I haven't got Semenyo. So it's these kind of pieces I'm trying to figure out. But at the moment, I just feel good about Thiago. Because Isak was like rubbish last season. So and it's like sometimes when you pick a player, there are 2 feelings I feel. One is expectation, and the other is hope. And it's like I want to feel the expectation rather than the hope. And Isak is a bit hopey. I'm picking him, hoping he's going to do well. So is Wirtz, to be honest. I don't really feel that. Whereas Semenyo feels expectation-y to me. Even though some people have said he might be wider, I still think. I mean, I've heard other people say that Semenyo could be really good under Maresca because he likes to use the wings a lot. And there is that sense of like expectation with him. Didn't he score like 17 goals last season? 17 goals. That's quite a lot of goals. So I kind of feel like I need Semenyo. So I may end up getting Semenyo here. I don't know. But yeah, I like picking players with a sense of expectation rather than hope. So João Pedro feels good. I'm feeling pretty good about Calvert-lewin. And Thiago, I feel that more than Isak. See, but then if I go for Semenyo here instead of Wirtz, I've got no Liverpool representation, and they've got a good start to the season. They could be good. I'm not sure how much I back Liverpool though, because there's a narrative of like managers that go up to bigger clubs don't tend to do very well. It's not a huge sample size, but like Thomas Frank going to Tottenham and Graham Potter when he went to Chelsea. Sometimes managers that make that leap, it doesn't seem to have a huge success rate. But then Iraola does seem like a good manager. He has said they're not quite up to fitness yet. So I think he said something like that. So not sure about Wirtz. And Wirtz as well, like I like players who have I don't know, it's like a robustness about them. There's some players that, I don't know whether I should judge by the way they look, but some players just look built stocky, like Mbeumo, Salah used to be. Tzolis looks well stocky. Gibbs-White looks pretty solid. Thiago's good. Whereas Wirtz just looks a bit like a little runt. Sorry, Wirtz. And so I don't know whether I fully trust him. But I know he did really well in Germany in the Bundesliga. But then maybe can he do it in the Premier League? It is a bit of hope there rather than expectation. So not sure about Wirtz. I think I'd prefer Semenyo. But then I've just got no Liverpool then. But then maybe that's fine. I've got $1 million in the bank here, so I could go for Semenyo. Maybe that's fine. We'll see. So there's that. Yeah, Bruno, Mbeumo. Again, Mbeumo just... My model really likes Mbeumo. He's right at the top and quite clear, even when I kind of play around with his numbers and lower his minutes and stuff like that. He still comes out quite high. Fourth best. You got Bruno, Haaland, Gabriel, and then Mbeumo. So I think I'm gonna trust that, and those first two fixtures as well. There was part of me of thinking maybe I could just go Mbeumo for the first two and then decide whether to do Mbeumo to Semenyo in 3. Is something I could do, because Man City have got Bournemouth. What's the narrative with teams when they play their old players when they play their old clubs? It's got Bournemouth there, but in that Palace game, I think Palace are going to be really crap. I don't know. I feel like I've got bad feelings about them. So it'd be nice to have a Man City player for that. And then Coventry at home is good. So I don't know. I'm deciding on the spot here, but I've got to figure that one out. And Mbeumo though feels likely. Gibbs-White, I just really like. He's so the most nailed picks. Bruno. Gibbs-White is probably the second most nailed for me, because he just ended the season so well. He feels so nailed, and now they've got Glasner there as well, and no Europe. I think I heard a narrative of him being in the last year of his contract, and so quite often players play for if they want to get a big move, they have to do a really good season in their last season to impress and get the best move they can. So I don't know, stars feel like they're aligning with him a bit, and I like him. Pretty good fixtures. Forest, like Leeds, fine. Liverpool away is tough, but then there's a feeling that Liverpool's defence might not be that good at the moment. They might be open the way Iraola's style. Tottenham could be tough, but it's at home, and you never know with Tottenham because it's a new club. I don't know. I think they might be defensively strong. The Aston Villa's good though. Coventry's good. It's not bad. Not bad fixtures. I like him. So he feels pretty solid for me. And then Tzolis feels great. There is this tiny part of me that just thinks if there's one game where Eze is just left wing instead and Tzolis is benched, would it surprise me? Probably not massively. Last season, almost every position for Arsenal in the attack was just getting rotated. It was Saka and Madueke was the most weighted towards one, which was Saka. He was getting most starts, but everywhere else it was like Odegaard and Eze were getting switched all the time. Havertz and Gyökeres, and then Martinelli and Trossard. I think Trossard kind of had the starting spot over Martinelli, but they did rotate a fair bit. So Arteta does like to rotate. And if you have a look at the overview, Arsenal have got Europe between game week 3 and 4. I don't know what their EFL game is yet. It's out, isn't it? I just haven't looked, but it's probably something easy. But that one there, I don't even know what that game is. I should probably check. Let me just check now. One sec. I'm not sure the Champions League fixtures are out yet. Maybe there's extra rounds that got to be played before they do the full fixture list. I'm not sure. I couldn't find it. But the EFL round, yeah, Arsenal won't get entered into the third round, but the second round is out. Leeds versus Nottingham Forest is interesting in the second round of the EFL Cup. But then everybody else, like Tottenham's got Charlton, Chelsea got Luton, Newcastle, West Brom, Hull, Stoke. So nothing too major, but that could be interesting. Leeds versus Nottingham Forest. Leeds versus Nottingham Forest. So that would be happening between there. So the Leeds are playing Nottingham Forest twice. Game week 1 and game week, and then in the EFL. Is that right? Apparently so. Anyway, back to Arsenal though, and Tzolis. They'll have a Champions League game against somebody, and then a probably EFL game against somebody easy. But there could be rotation there. But then maybe it's more likely that Eze will come in in the Champions League game. I don't know. There's a little bit of a risk there. But then, I don't know. I said something about taking risks, didn't I? First 5 game weeks. He looks really good. His data was like insane in the Belgian league. Per 90, 0.51 XG and 0.47 XA. So there's a return a game. Apparently the conversion rate from Belgian league to the Premier League, you have to drop them off about 40% is the average, which is quite a big drop off. But still, even if I do that with my model, I dropped him off by pretty much about that, a little bit more, still like 0.6, 0.7 ish. I always go a bit more because he hasn't got any bonus predicted, so to counter that. And he comes out, he's not going to get DEFCON, but even at like a 0.6, 0.7 kind of a XGI, it's way better than everybody else pretty much. Only Bruno and Haaland are like better than that. So he could be great for 6.5. It's a bit of a punt, but he feels good. Martinelli may be out the door. Don't know what's happening with him. We could sign somebody else. I don't know. Feels worth the risk. There's loads of other 6.5s as well, like players around that price. So you could always just make a switch. So that's that then. Yeah, maybe Semenyo instead of Wirtz, but that's the front 8. Defence could go for Raya. Model seems to want me to pick Raya. Model, when I do the solver, model seems to, if I stipulate that I want 3 at the back, it seems to go quite big at the back. Probably it keeps wanting me to get like Van Dijk or something like that. I'm not going Van Dijk though, because Liverpool I think are looking a bit too leaky. I do think I like Kinsky. Tottenham had a pretty good defence at the end of last season. They've just signed like loads of defenders and midfielders. It feels like they're starting from the back, like get the defence sorted. That's what De Zerbi did at the end of last season. Their XGC at the end of last season wasn't that bad in the end, like 1.5 in the end, something like that. I don't know whether I've got it here, but it'll be here. What I'm using for them, second from bottom. Yeah, 1.45-ish. They ended the season 0.95, which was like really good. So overall I'm using like a 1.27 kind of number for them as their average. So they could be good. Yeah, quite like Kinsky. So I'll probably go for him because I'd rather have money in attack. But if I am leaking money, I could just go to Raya maybe. And then Vuskovic, he's just got an insane like DEFCON number. His DEFCONs per 90 like 12.5. He would break the game if he keeps playing like that. Well, not break the game, but like he'd be very good. So defensively, I mean, I've actually got Canvo up there high as like the next best defender behind Gabriel. He had a 71%. That's his projected DEFCON rate, which is like super high as well. This is also factoring in the fact that I'll talk about this at the end as well, but I've made a load of adjustments to my model and I've included like a team nudge. So I think I've dropped Crystal Palace by like 95%. I've added this nudge to it as well, so it's already including that. And yet he's still coming out really high, Cambo. But I don't know whether I trust that. So I think I'm much more inclined to go for Vuskovic. Calafiori's up there as next decent defender. Van Dijk. But again, I don't fully trust his numbers. Nico O'Reilly. Tarkowski, Lacroix, Hill, Chow. Where is he? Vuskovic. I'm sure he's up here somewhere. Oh, there he is there. And then here's Vuskovic. Probably one of the best 5 mils at least. But his DEFCON rate is 84%. If you get carries on at 12.5, that'd be 84%. He's like almost every game would be getting a DEFCON. So will he carry on getting DEFCONs? I don't know, but from when I looked at it, when I looked at the conversion from Championship to Premier League, it looked to me like most players keep their DEFCON rate about the same. Whatever their DEFCON rate was in the Championship, it remains the same. Which, I don't know, there's two narratives in my head of like when you go to the Premier League, maybe you'll be doing more defending so that it'll go up, but maybe you won't get a chance, the other team won't give you a chance to tackle them because you'll get the clearances. So maybe those two forces counteract and it stays about the same. So I don't know whether he'll carry on at that rate, but it looks good. Maybe I need to study that a bit more, but I'm inclined to think it will carry on. So I like the look of him. Again, like Brighton were another team whose defence was pretty good last season, towards the end as well. Let's see what we had. So for the whole season, 1.6-ish is not great. Towards the end of the season, 1.6 as well. Maybe I'm talking up my bum then. I thought they were good towards the end. I'm sure they were quite good towards the end. It says 1.6 there though. Might double check that. But yeah, so I've got them as 1.5-ish, 1.6-ish overall. I felt quite good about them, their defence though. So I don't know. There's a load of 5 mils. I could go for somebody else as well, but I think I like Vuskovic at the moment. So I'm sticking with him. But he's one of the spots like Vuskovic and maybe this kind of like Wirtz. These two I could juggle around. I could go cheaper in this spot and then go for an O'Reilly or a Van Dijk. I could go more expensive in this spot and go down on that spot or stay within 5 mils. So they're kind of spots I can move around. Bench boost, Thomas, Van Uyck, they just seem like the most nailed. Rushworth will probably be the keeper, I think. They seem the most nailed. Good for DEFCONs. Yeah. There's Kitchen there and Amenda you could go for, but I think I'm going to just punt it. They seem like the most nailed. So let's go for them. Calafiori as well. Calafiori I just think will start. Last season when he was fit, he just started every game as the left back all the time. It wasn't until he got injured that Hincapie started coming in. But Hincapie wasn't really covering him, or if he did, he covered centre back. He wasn't covering Calafiori. It seems to me like Calafiori is first choice left back, and I think he'll just play every game. He missed some of these Champions League games, but he just played all the other games. So yeah, I feel pretty good about Calafiori. Good upside. Yeah, I like the idea of having double Arsenal defence as well, just because the clean sheet odds, like Arsenal, are quite clear best odds, so it'd be good to get a couple of them. So that is where I'm at, I think. A couple of other things to say as well. One thing I keep kind of coming up against is like attack versus defence. Whenever your attackers play your defenders, I've been trying to kind of like see if I can avoid that, because that's what I would normally do. Try and avoid my attackers playing my defenders. But I had another chat with AI, as I do a lot these days, and I started kind of asking about that, like, doesn't that like lower your EV or whatever? And AI was quite adamant that it doesn't. And sometimes when you talk to AI and you push back and say, hang on, I don't think it is right, AI will be like, oh yeah, you're right, sorry, I made a mistake. But then other times it stands firm with its belief, and it did in this case. And I was like, huh, so that's interesting. So AI's argument was that when you play an attacker versus defender, what it does, it lowers your ceiling, but it raises your floor, is what they're saying. But in terms of EV, as long as you just maximise EV, that's what you should focus on. I think something like this, I don't know, I'm still kind of learning. I need to kind of like, it's going against my natural intuition to do this, so I need to kind of play around with it. But the idea is you just maximise EV, and I guess it makes sense if you've got like, so if João Pedro is playing my Arsenal defenders, a goal for João Pedro is a clean sheet wipeout, and a clean sheet for them means João Pedro blanks pretty much. There might be other ways, if they get subbed off early, whatever. If you got a forward playing none of your defenders, then yes, it's possible they can both get a clean sheet and goals, but it's also possible they can both blank. Whereas when you've got a forward playing your defenders, it's still possible they could both blank, but if there is a clean sheet, if there is a goal, it's probably going to be João Pedro, and if there is no goals, you know, if he doesn't score, there's a good chance these guys will get clean sheets. And so it's that kind of idea. You are lowering your ceiling, but you're raising your floor. And so in terms of like EV, it doesn't really matter. And if I avoid it by trying to avoid that situation where they're playing each other, I might stumble into lowering my EV, thinking that I'm going to have more chance, which I might heighten my ceiling, but I'm lowering my EV. And I think the idea was like, just keep your EV is the most important thing. So for example, like this Coventry game, this is why I want to bench boost too, because they just have the best chance of a clean sheet in that game, I think, and I want to get triple of them. Now if I bench boost in one, I was thinking maybe I could go for like Verbruggen and one Ipswich, so I'm kind of spreading my bets. So, you know, because when you spread your bets, it feels like, well, at least you might get one clean sheet. But technically, I'm just lowering my EV, aren't I? Because if I go for that clean sheet and I go for like a Brighton and an Ipswich, I'm just getting 26% odds of clean sheets. Whereas you may as well just go for 3 Coventry clean sheets. And I'm trying to kind of think a bit differently, and it's like it's a loss aversion is something I'm trying to challenge. When you've got, you know, spreading your bets with a bit of Brighton, a bit of Ipswich feels safer, but what I'm actually doing is lowering my EV there. Whereas here, that feels scarier, to just triple Coventry, 1 Hull goal, I'm wiped out. But if I just have this method all the time, then, and just kind of like grow a pair and just go for it, I think that's the way to. So I don't know. I'm trying to think like that. It feels a bit counterintuitive, but I'm trying to just think max EV. So when my players play each other, like Vuskovic has got, he plays some of my forwards, I think, Chelsea and then Arsenal. He's playing Chelsea and Arsenal. But then, if that doesn't matter anymore, Vuskovic is like one of the highest point scorers in my model, and so I may as well just go with him. I mean, where's the best way to look at this? Holy moly, mouse is having a crazy time. Let's have a look at this quick. Defenders, I'm sure he was quite high up last time I looked. I think it's the if starting score, because I've got him, I'm not sure, I've got him at 75% to start. That's why if you actually look at his if starting score, 23.62, he's basically the second best behind Gabriel, a little bit above Calafiori, O'Reilly, if starting. So that's why he's low, because I've got him at 75% chance, because I don't know for sure. I need to watch these Brighton games against in Europe. But if he starts, he's the next best. So it's like, well, just play him then. He's predicted these points. I don't know, it feels a bit counterintuitive to play him against Arsenal and Chelsea, but I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe, but if I go to somebody else, don't know, I need to figure it all the way out, but I'm thinking maybe I just pick him and play him. Something like that. Don't know. Anyway, that is about that. Well, a couple other thoughts. I'm just going to waffle with. A couple other thoughts I had as well was, one is don't be scared to be template. I know people always say don't be scared to go differential, all that kind of stuff. I always feel like I'm trying to remind myself to not be scared to go template sometimes, because sometimes if you do go template, people think you copy and review, or you're a sheep or something like that, and it's like, I need to just not listen to other people at all and just do whatever I think is best. So that's what I'm going to do this season. Try to anyway. And there's another thing I think of sometimes is like how to play the game. Sometimes I just want to vibe it. And sometimes I think once you get your players down to a certain ballpark of like decent picks, it doesn't really matter. A variance is going to cover it all, so just vibe it, pick the ones you like. It's one way to play. But then there's another way to play, which is the maximize EV way. And you see these graphs from FPL Optimized with the yellow lines going up. And if you see those graphs, the higher those yellow lines, variance is like, if your yellow line's going up really high, variance, a good luck will get you in the top 1k, bad luck will get you in the top 50k. Whereas if your yellow line's not that good, good luck will get you in the top 50k, bad luck will get you in the top 500k or something like that. So if you can maximise EV, then your variance range will be higher as well, was part of what I was thinking. So I was thinking maybe I could play like that, but I think I concluded that I prefer playing the vibe way, and also the optimized graph is technically, it's based on FPL optimized model. Now I've no doubt their model is better, same with review, I'm sure their models are better, but I don't know what's gone into them, and so I think I've just decided to I think I just have to play my own way because I just like it. So I'm going to carry on playing my own way, and I'm going to carry on kind of vibing it and maximizing EV to what I think is the best EV kind of thing, rather than trying to kind of conform to someone else. I don't know. I don't think I made that point very well, but that's what. So I think I'm going to kind of. I don't know. I'm waffling. Anyway, final thing to talk about is the model. Oh, by the way, Konsa is going to Arsenal. That's something to bear in mind. Konsa's going to Arsenal by the look of it, so that's a 4.5 Arsenal defender when he starts playing. He probably won't start straight away. I will probably just bring him in game week 6 wildcard, maybe, probably. See how long Saliba's out for. Yeah, something to think about. Anyway, the model. So just a couple of things on the model. So I've made a load of tweaks. I'll upload this. It's free to download if anybody wants to download it. It's not like a professional thing. It's just my own personal project, so it's going to be errors in it, and I don't know how often I'll update it. But these are the updates I've done so far. I'm kind of half imagining I will do this whenever I do an update. I'll write what I've done. Knowing me, I won't keep it up, and I'll be flaky, and I probably won't finish this. But at the moment, these are the changes I made. The first thing to mention, if anybody did download the model, you've got to go to formulas, calculate options, and set it to automatic. I think I left it on manual, because on manual, it just, when you're building the model, it just makes it quicker. It doesn't keep updating automatically all the time. But if anybody got the model and it's on manual, and you go to like predict and you start making all these changes, nothing's going to happen. Or something did happen then, but no, I don't think it's going to happen if you go 7 now. Yeah, so nothing happens until you press F9 and automatically. So if you press F9, you can it does the calculations for you. But you need to go to formula, calculate options, and set it to automatic, and then it'll all do it. It will function better. And also, you're probably going to you either download the new model or you're going to have to change the fixtures, because I think in the model I uploaded, I left a double game week in game week 2 for, I think it was like Nottingham Forest or Liverpool, because I was testing out whether the double game week thing worked. And I think I left it in there. I might have done. I can't remember, but I think I left it in there. So you might need to either download this model or get rid of that, copy and paste the new fixtures over the top. So that's that. And then so a couple of corrections I made. Long form, short form, blah, 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 blah. So this, yeah, so with the clean sheets, I corrected some maths here that I had done wrong, I think. You go from the XGC, you do that little Poisson distribution thing, works out the XGC. I wanted to factor in the fact that some players come off early, and the earlier you come off, the more likely it is you'll get a clean sheet. Don't worry about the 60-point thing, that comes in later, that gets multiplied there. But so Gabriel, 0.82, he plays 90 of every game, so he's got the same clean sheet odds as Arsenal as a whole. But somebody like Saliba, whereas he tends to get subbed off a little bit earlier sometimes on average, so which means he's got a slightly higher chance of clean sheet. That's his XGC is a little lower. Then you do the Poisson distribution thing there, and the same with like the 2+ goals. It comes from that number. I was taking it from that number, I think, and you got to take it from that number. So I've corrected that all through the model. I've applied a minutes filter to it just applies here, so control 500 minutes, basically last season, that is mostly at the moment, and it will just get anybody who hasn't played 500 minutes, their score will just turn to 0 in that column. That's the only one you really need it for. Yep, so I did that. What else we got? Load of columns I wasn't using, assists and stuff, I've deleted all of those. This was interesting. One of the trickiest bits on the model is like minutes. If start is kind of simple. It's just if they're starting, what they're going to get. That's fairly easy. But then this part, the true total, is tricky because what you need is here's their if start score, but then they've got a percentage chance of starting. So if a player like, you've got Ben White, about 60% chance of starting, so you've got to take 60% of that score. That's his if start score, and then you have to figure out, well, if he's a sub, what could he get if he comes on as a sub, and take the percentage chance that he would be a sub, take that bit, and then you also need a little bit of odds of like you got to leave a percentage for they might not even come on at all. And so I've readjusted the if start score's easy. The sub total, it's not if not start. It used to be if not start total. It's now if sub total, because this is if they're a sub, and it's basically if you've got a player who averages 60 minutes per start and 30 minutes per sub, then the rate here is 30 divided by 60 is a half, and you're going to half, so you're just halving their rate here, which is 60 minutes per start, and you want to find the exact same rate but do it by 30 minutes per start, which is basically half. So that's what I've done there. It's just halving their if start, but then it's also deleted. It's not using the appearance points. The first appearance point gets added later, which is confusing things, but second appearance point, they're not going to get the plus 60, not going to get the save points. Well, I've lost that for now because goalkeepers are separate. They play 90 or nothing. Not going to get a clean sheet, probably not going to get DEFCON, but everything else is going to get multiplied by that factor. And that's if they're a sub score. And then the appearance point, because the appearance point won't get multiplied by that factor, so you have to add that on at the end. And then you do the odds of, like, there's some maths there. You get, so if he's 60%, if Ben White's 60% start rate, it's probably higher than that, but I've got him at 60% for now. You take 60% of that, and then you need his sub rate. And Ben White's sub rate is actually, if he doesn't start, he's actually very unlikely to come on. Ben White last season, based on this, last season, of his 20 times he didn't start but was in the squad, he only came on 3 times. 17 times he just was an unused sub. So his chance of coming on as a sub is actually really low, like 15%. So that if his sub score is only getting like 15% of that, 15% of 40%, because you've got 60% there, 50. Oh my god, I know what I'm talking about now. I think I'm pretty clear about it now, but it's like it's difficult to explain. And then it's the 40% that's left. It's just 15% of that is his sub score, and then he's going to have like 85% of that final 40% is just no points. He's unused sub. Anyway, it's hopefully people are still with me with that. That's that. What else did I do? I've converted everything to per start column as well. So yellow cards, bonus points. So it's all the same now. I just wanted to keep my model the same. So this is like all the 11 points. They're all per 90, and then they've all been turned into per start pretty much, apart from saves, but that's keepers. It's different. So they're all per start now. And the first 6 points are all previous season, last season, and this season's data. And then these final 5, I'm using long form and short form, and they've just got 1 minutes per start. There's just 1 minutes per start there that I'm using, and you use previous season or this season, so I haven't got separate ones for DC and goals and assists. So that's one of the changes I made. I've added a load of manual overrides. That's quite cool. So in this predict here, you can manually override the start rate, but also the minutes per start, DC rate, and XG and XA. And if you manually override the XG or XA, bump it up a little because there's no bonus override. So just cover the bonus by just bumping your XG or XA up a little. That's what I do. And then I've applied all these nudges. So this is maybe, you can turn all this stuff off. This is maybe controversial, but I've got the team nudge. So the team nudge, for reference, Man United last season compared to the season before, they nearly got relegated in 24-25. came, what was it, third in 25-26. That represented 27% more XG and 17% less XGC. So that was like quite a big swing. So if that's the reference, you know, anything from like 5, 10, maybe even 15%, if you think a team's going to do that, you can give them a nudge. So I've kept relatively conservative. I mean, I've got some 10% nudges for Tottenham and Forest there. So you can just nudge a team and it will bump all their players up, and teams that play them will be bumped down a little bit. DC strength. I figured if a team improves, the chance of them getting DC defcons is probably going to go down because they're a better team. They're not going to have to defend as much. But that's just me guessing. I don't know whether that correlation is actually accurate. So you can set that to like 50% or even turn it off if you don't agree with that. I've added a time wasting boost. So I think there'll be about 10% more goals this season. Is that right? Yeah, I mean, XG and XA and clean sheet chances will improve by that amount. And then teams playing them will be affected by that amount as well. So, yeah, that feels good. And then I've also the DEFCON rates. Ignore this for now. I'm not going to include that because there's too much variance there. But DEFCON's centre-backs last season got 7% more DEFCONs away from home than at home. So I've put that in the model as whenever a player's playing home, boosted their DEFCON away, boosted their DEFCON chance if it's a centre-back by 7%. DMs, it was actually barely any difference. So I've left it as it is there. It's like you get 1% more chance of DEFCONs at home than away. And then all the other DEFCONs, I've left it at that rate, which is the overall average. These are the individual team rates, but I'm not sure there's too much variance there. Like Tottenham were one of the rare teams that actually they gave up DEFCONs to their opposing teams more when they played at home. Is that right? Or the other way around? I can't remember how it works, but you would normally expect, because Spurs were so bad at home, they actually went the other way around. Like so Newcastle at St James's Park, when teams play away at Newcastle, so this is at St James's Park, they get loads of DEFCONs because Newcastle are attacking like crazy and they're formidable. But when teams are playing at home, that's what I mean. Yeah, so when teams are playing at home, so Spurs are playing away, that's when they get the most DEFCONs. So Spurs were like their most aggressive away from home, whereas at home they were kind of rubbish. But that could change in a heartbeat this season. You know, you just don't. Newcastle might not be as formidable this season. Spurs might become a fortress again. So I'm going to ignore that. But I've included those ones. What else? Yeah, that's it. And then true value is kind of interesting because I've just trying to say who's the most valuable player. You know, you've got this value metric here. This is points divided by price, which is where most people start for value. And you've got Calvert-lewin really high, Cambo, Tzolis, O'Shea. But there's a great video by, I've mentioned this before, Midnight Mule does a great video on value, and he shows how kind of arbitrary it is. Like all the prices start at 4 mil, and that's kind of arbitrary because if all the prices started like 100 mil, you get very different value metrics, even though the mechanics of the game would be the same. So I tried to kind of correct for that with the best way to correct for it is with a solver, but I don't really fully trust the solver sometimes, the results. So I tried to correct with it with this little scale where it kind of like, so what am I saying, 0.4 value seems low, but for a 15 mil player it's actually probably about right, and 0.6 for a 10 mil player is probably about right, 0.8 for a 5 mil player is probably about right. So I've just tried to kind of convert it so that it's scaled for that, and then if it goes above or below that, then it's considered good value. So if I go by the true value, and it's not really the true value, it's just my approximation of a truer value, Bruno's top. So even though he's 12 million, 0.66 value for a 12 million player is considered like better than 0.52, 0.66. It's not 0.32 better off, so I don't know what's gone there. But anyway, it's considered better than, I should double check that. Why is that 0.34? I'm going to double check this. But supposedly he's just better than where he should be. And you got Calvert-lewin there, Tzolis, but he's a new to the team. Camvo, man, I don't know why he's so high on my model. It's just his defcons. He's interesting. Haaland, so Haaland is considered good value if the true value metric is right. Gabriel still considered good value. Mbeumo, Mamadou Sangare, great defcon rate. He could be really good. Yeah, Tav. So that's kind of like a. Oh, sorry, I know why it is. I've bumped it all up by just to make it look better. I think I bumped it all up by 20 or something like that. Oh yeah, offset. I gave it an offset. So yeah, it does work. Yeah, so that's the value. Tav, Sar. My model likes Sar and Tav. I don't know if I like Sar. Just have a quick glance through some of the top players, because like my model loves Palmer as well. Loves Palmer. He's like 0.5 XGI is actually kind of good. There's not that many people that did better than that. He's really good. So, but he's just slightly a bit too expensive. But yeah, maybe Calvert-Lewin and Saka as well. I think Saka you maybe shouldn't count off completely because of the fact that he gets quite a lot of minutes off the bench. So even if he doesn't start, he's got quite a good chance of getting something off the bench anyway. So I think that's why, because again, this is with his 77% start rate factored in. He's still like one of the best picks. He was doing really well at the end of last season. 0.54 XGI. Yeah, he could be good. Again, 9.5. I don't think I'm going to go there. Bruno and Declan Rice next, but I don't think I trust that. Gibbs-White, love it. Sar, avoid for me. Semenyo, yeah, I do like Semenyo. Thiago, Szoboszlai and Wirtz are like neck and neck. Their value has Szoboszlai probably slightly better value. They're like neck and neck. Wirtz, higher ceiling maybe. Not necessarily though. Wirtz wasn't that good. He was kind of good, but not great. So, defcon rate. Szoboszlai got a bit of defcon as well in him. So, yeah, I can see why people are going for Szoboszlai. I didn't really consider him last season, but maybe. Anderson, nah. And Sangare. So, Gonzalo Garcia for Fulham could be interesting. Good rate if he comes over. Plays well for Fulham. One to watch, I think. Dewsbury Hall. I'm going to stop talking. I'm waffling now. So yeah, that's enough talking for one day. I will stop there. So yeah, that's the team. Just got to figure out a few little loose ends. Okay, enough waffling. Thanks for listening. See you later. Bye bye.